What's up guys, welcome back to HMHT. I'm your host Ben, and exactly after 2 weeks and 2 days, that's actually how long it took us to go from beta 1 to the update that we have today, which is macOS Big Sur 11.1 beta 2. At the time I'm recording this video today, it's actually available to both developer beta testers and to public beta testers. So irregardless of the profile you have, you can actually check out this update should you wish to. Now, for me on my 2016 15-inch MacBook Pro, initially I couldn't see the update, but when I checked for the update the second time, the update showed up and I was able to update with no issues at all. The preparation went smooth, and also when my Mac was rebooting, that process went seamless. Being on a beta is a bit of a risk, so I might probably need a sub. Now, let's look how this update came in for me, or the software changes that came with this update. The first one that we want to look at is the software update size for me on my MacBook Pro. So it came in at around 2.81 gigs, and comparing it to beta 1 was actually at 3.24 gigs. And then if we go back slightly just to see the new build number that we have with this beta 2, you can see that the build number is 20C5061B. Now, if you are on iOS 14.3, which is on beta 3 at this time on your devices, you'll notice that there's a big similarity with this build number that we have here on this macOS Big Sur 11.1 beta 2. And previously on beta 1, we actually had the last letter of the build number as a K. So this one, we can sort of say that it took 8 steps in the positive direction, so that is good. And then if we go back just to see how much space this update is taking, it just takes a moment to load here, and as you can see, the space taken up by the system is 16.2 gig. That is exactly the same, well, almost exactly the same as what I had on 11.1 beta 1. It was taking up 16.9 gigs, so it's only increased by 100 MBs, which tells you about the changes that came with this update, that there isn't a lot, but apparently I actually managed to dig out quite a bit. So let's jump into our next segment, which is the new features and changes that came with this update. The first one has to do with the screen that you see after you update your MacBook. So you'll be welcomed by a new analytics screen, and then you have to either accept whether you want to share your analytics with Apple developers and be able to continue. And then once you click continue, you'll be welcomed by a new screen, and it will actually tell you that you can now unlock your MacBook using your Apple Watch. This is something that I tested like 5 times to make sure it's working. So on macOS Big Sur 11.1 beta 2, you can now finally unlock your Apple Watch using your Mac. It's working and I'm having no issues at all. And just in case you're curious, the version that I have on my Apple Watch Series 6 that you see here is watchOS 7.2 beta 3. It's available to public beta testers and to developer beta testers. So perhaps if yours doesn't work and you're not on this version, then this version might have something to do with it. Also, something worth mentioning when it comes to this update is that we have a full installer finally, unlike beta 1. So if you run the command to find the full installer, it's available and you can save it as a DMG file and run it from the flash and use it according to your will. Also, with this update, voiceover accessibility now support InfoVox voices from Acapella Group. And what this means is that if you actually go into your settings and then you go to accessibility and then you go to your voiceover, you can actually add a wide portfolio of InfoVox Acapella voices as alternative to Apple voices to vocalize written content on the screen of your Mac. So it's good to see that this is something that's been added, although it's not one that I'm going to use myself. But if you do, you actually now don't have to use the default Apple voices. You can add your own vocalized voices when it comes to voiceovers. Also, something that's interesting and worth mentioning has to do with the App Store. It doesn't have much to do with this update, but if you open the App Store, you'll see the app of the year and the game of the year when it comes to the App Store. So the app of the year is Fantastical, and it's some type of a calendar. I've downloaded it just to see how it works, and it works good, and it's good to know that that app also has a widget. So it's good for your appointments and so on, and that's something good to note when using the App Store. 4K video on Safari is still available, no change there from beta 1, that's a good thing. And I noticed that when you open Safari and you go to your recently browsed tab that, you know, shows the tabs that your other devices are using, it now collects like a lot more compared to what we had on beta 1, which is a good thing, I guess, in this case, but I don't really use it. Also, I have to mention that I've been playing around with Siri just to see the speed, and I gotta say, compared to what we had on 11.1 beta 1, Siri is way faster on 11.1 beta 2. I tested quite a lot of commands and voice inputs, and Siri is faster compared to what we had on beta 1, which is a good thing. Now, something that's a bit interesting or being received with mixed reactions right now when it comes to macOS updates has to do with the way they are rolling out these updates. It seems like they're trying to follow something that's more like the iOS release cycle. So when we had Mojave, it was actually version 10.14, and then it took a year to go from that version to 10.15, which was Catalina, and then it took a year to go from Catalina to Big Sur that we had here. And initially Big Sur was actually version 11.0.1, but after a few betas they changed that to version 11.1. so perhaps next year, when the new or the next version of macOS Big Sur comes out, it will be version 12. This update sort of kicks this a little bit further. Now, when it comes to some other new features that people are seeing, I've had people who message me on Twitter saying that they are seeing 2 new wallpapers. For me, on my MacBook Pro that you see here, I actually am not seeing any new 2 wallpapers that have to do with the new 16-inch MacBook Pro that is rumored to be coming. So some people are saying they're seeing this. I'm not seeing this. If you're seeing this, please let me know in the comments below. According to the Apple release notes, there's a few things that changed, and the first one has to do with the full screen mode in non-resizable iOS apps and iPadOS apps. They are now working as expected, and then the zoom to fit state is now preserved across app launches, which is a good thing. And then also using either macOS recovery or a bootable installer to reinstall macOS Big Sur 11.1 beta on Macs with Apple Silicon is now supported. So those are the changes and new features that came with this update that I managed to find. I'll be doing a follow-up video just to highlight any other that I find. So now let's look at the bugs and issues that are still existing with this update. The first one has to do with people not seeing this update. So it seems to be quite a serious issue if you have the 2013 and 2014 13-inch MacBook Pro. The board ID that identifies those models has actually been excluded in the code of this macOS Big Sur. So if you have those models, you actually be told that you are on the latest available version, whether you are on the public beta or the developer beta. There were issues that were breaking people's devices, and Mr. Macintosh actually has a good channel and also good articles that describe this issue in full details. I will leave some of his links in the description below. So if you have those MacBook Pro 13-inch 2014 and 2013 models, I highly advise that you not update to this macOS Big Sur 11.1 beta 2. Some people are lucky and are being able to update without any issues, but for others, that's not always the case. So take note. And then also iMovie has some misaligned text. For example, when you look at the resolution tab when you want to share something or save a project, and then also the share icon or the share tab is missing on the top corner of iMovie. And then for some users, when it comes to AirPods auto switching, they are having issues. Others, when unlocking their Apple Watch with the Mac, they are having issues. The auto brightness on the Mac, I was having issues whereby it was fluctuating with constant lighting without changing the environment. So I had that bug like twice, and some people are also reporting that Safari is not working as it's supposed to. It's highly unstable, and then they are unable to attach documents or files when using Safari with this update. Others that have the Apple Silicon M1 MacBooks, they are having issues when it comes to Bluetooth connectivity, and some are reporting issues when it comes to the internal microphone of the Mac and the noise cancellation feature of those Apple M1 Macs. Also, if I go to the About This Mac section and go to the System Report tab there, sometimes it's highlighted in blue. I don't know why that bug is there, but those seems to be most of the bugs and issues that some people reported to me and that I've been experiencing myself. Now, when it comes to performance, I did run Geekbench 5 scores just to see how fast this update is compared to beta 1, and I gotta say, if we were to say in terms of speed, this one is walking and beta 1 was running. Let me show you what I mean. So on this macOS Big Sur 11.1 beta 2, when it comes to single core performance, I had a score of 742 on single core. And then on the previous, on beta 1, when it comes to single core, I actually had a score of 809. And then with this update, when it comes to multi-core performance on beta 2, I have a score of 3053. And previously, when it comes to beta 1, I actually had a score of 3280. So you can see that for both single core and multi-core performance, this update is way slower. And then the same is also true when it comes to GPU performance, but not by a lot. So with this update on beta 2, I had a score of 17,561, and then previously on beta 1, I had a score of 17,649. So if I had to say from the get-go, since I started testing macOS Big Sur betas from the first beta until now, the macOS Big Sur 11.1 beta 1 was the best performing macOS version when it comes to Geekbench scores for both single core, multi-core, and GPU performance. This one has dropped the bar a little bit. Now, when it comes to battery performance, you can see my screen on time usage for the last 10 days. So this is mostly for beta 1 that I was on for the most for the last 2 weeks and 2 days. Then if we go to the battery section there, you can see that we have some misaligned text when it comes to this lock here and the battery health. But if we click on the battery health, you can see that condition is normal and you can no longer see your maximum health percentage. So that is how this update is performing for me when it comes to battery performance. I'm going to do a video 2 days after this just to show you how it's been performing on my MacBook Pro here, and also just to show you a better reflection of the battery performance on overall device performance. And if I find any new features, I will definitely highlight those new features. Now, when it comes to when we can actually expect this version, macOS Big Sur 11.1, to officially be released, if we look at the calendar, today is actually the 3rd of December, and the previous update came on the 17th of November, which was 2 weeks ago. So from now on, I really hope that Apple can actually move to weekly release cycles, and if they do that, then we'll probably be seeing an update somewhere between the 7th and the 10th of December. If the release candidate comes out during those dates, then we can expect the final version to come out during the week of the 14th. That's what I'm really hoping for at this time, because there's a lot of issues when it comes to the official version of macOS Big Sur 11.0.1, and so many people are waiting for this 11.1. So I really hope we see this update being officially released during those dates that I've mentioned here. Because Apple, what they do is that they usually take the last portion of December, the 2 weeks off, just to relax, and then they will come swinging next year in January 2021. So let's wait and see, and hopefully that does happen. Now, whether you should update or not to this beta 2, well, if you are on beta 1, then I think that it's actually better considering the build number, it's more stable. However, if you have the 2013 and 14 MacBook Pro, I would say just hold on for safety's sake for now, and once it gets better, or that version or that issue gets resolved, then you can update. Just to add on before we conclude our video, some sources at this time are saying that we might actually see some Apple products on the 8th of December. So we might get some new hardware, and basically that's about it for me when it comes to macOS Big Sur 11.1 beta 2. I hope you liked this video. If you did, a like would be great, and a sub even greater. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.